Friends, please welcome Sister Simone Campbell.
You humble me. And I'm not a Humility of Mary sister. You cannot control what's happening. We cannot do it. But where our passion really gets generated is in what we can control in our electoral process, what we can control in what they're doing in Congress. The reason we're out around the country is because most people don't know what the House of Representatives has done. They've already done this. They passed Paul Ryan's proposed budget with hardly any change. Paul Ryan's budget, what he does is he likes to claim he's going to decrease the debt, but in fact, the Congressional Budget Office says he's going to increase the debt. Well, that doesn't sound good. Not only is he going to increase the debt, he's going to increase the debt by giving further tax cuts to the top 2% under the guise that those are the folks that make jobs. Now, I don't want to say anything, but those are the very same folks that have had that significant tax break for 10 years, and I have yet to see a job. Not only have I yet to see a job, I've yet to see any salary increases for folks who work so hard, day in and day out. But what I have seen are CEO salaries that continue to skyrocket. It's shocking that CEOs would get an increase when the very people who create their wealth don't. That's wrong in a nation that holds itself out as a democracy of we the people. And what Paul Ryan wants us to think, and what he says is, it's his Catholic social teaching that made him do that. His Catholic social teaching. If he had never uttered those words, I don't think we'd have a bus trip. He made me mad. And I'm a stubborn woman, sort of like Colbert. But what he's trying to hide from us, is he's saying Catholic social teaching is all about the responsibility of the individual. It's just down to the individual to pull him or herself up by the bootstraps. But this is one place where Pope Benedict is on our side. Now, I have to confess, his encyclical, Charity and Truth, is a little boring to read, but when you get to the nuggets of it, what is said clearly in there is that you can only have individual responsibility as a keystone if you have intense solidarity. If we are one in our spirit of community, if we know what each other needs, if we know and respond to the needs of the community, then we can have individual responsibility. And it's the role of government to counter the excesses of any culture. And in our culture of individualism, the role of Catholic social teaching is to counter that individualism with a keen knowledge of solidarity. And your bishop here, Bishop Pates, I understand, is because of his role with the International Committee, Policy Committee for the Bishops, is helping lift up the international solidarity. And it is true also domestically, statewide, citywide, countywide, parish. Our solidarity is what will keep us from slipping into isolation, loneliness, and depression. Because the only time we are fully human is when we're connected to each other. So Paul Ryan wants to do the following things, because it's just about the individual, you know. He wants to cut so much money from the food stamp program. Now, first of all, you need to know most people on food stamps work full-time, okay? They work full-time, but they don't have enough money to pay for food for their kids. So really, in some ways, food stamp is more about a business subsidy because it allows low-wage business workers to feed their families and continue working. But we call it charity, or the Republicans call it charity. They want to cut food stamps so badly that every church, synagogue, mosque, house of worship in the United States, every single one, will have to raise an additional $50,000 every year for 10 years to replace what he wants to cut. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. It's a great theory. There needs to be public-private partnerships. There needs to be collaboration because we are in solidarity, but this will not work. Iowa, if you go on our website, nunsonthebus.org, this is why Nuns on the Bus was the right name and I had the wrong one, but nunsonthebus.org has all kinds of statistics for Iowa, but it includes things like he wants to cut $15 million out of the Iowa Head Start budget. $15 million over 2 years. Oh, 2 years. That means that 2,000 kids won't be able to go to Head Start. And we know Head Start is one of the best programs to get kids ready for school. It'll also result in the loss of 1,000 jobs. Oh, jobs, schmobs. But we'll give tax cuts to the rich, and they'll take care of that. Yeah, right. He wants to cut special ed. He wants to reduce educational services for the disadvantaged. 22,465 disadvantaged Iowa students will have their services cut by 2014. He wants to reduce the number of seniors and children on Medicaid. 329,000 Iowans. Then what do? More people without health care. He wants to end the small business tax credit, which we get at Network ourselves because we're a small business, but it would affect 41,000 Iowan small businesses. That sounds like a really great idea, doesn't it? He also wants to increase the cost of prescription drugs to seniors, that affluent group that always has a little extra cash, and that in Iowa itself, there would be 34.3 million fewer meals for low-income Iowan families. That's wrong. This is not our country. This is not we the people. This is not the Constitution that is based on the idea that all are created equal, right? It's not based on the Constitution that says, we know this, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, it ain't going to be perfect, but it's more perfect. We keep trying to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and say what? Our posterity. That's who we're about. We need to invest for the future. We've benefited so much from the investment of our parents and grandparents. What are we leaving our kids and grandkids? I don't have kids, but you do. But I worry about that. So that brings me to the last point. The images in my prayer over this time. The first image that came to me was the burning bush. Remember the story of Moses and the burning bush? And Yahweh calls out to Moses and he says, "Come, take off your shoes. This is sacred ground." I probably should take off my shoes because this is sacred ground. But I won't. And what God says to to Moses is, "I have heard the cry of my people. My people are enslaved and without hope. I have heard their cry." And sends Moses to set them free. And I had this image that we are called to be this bush where God can flame up in our lives and we can set our people free. It's the work of God in us that can make the difference. It's God flaming up, giving light and a little bit of destruction. I hate to tell you that. When you got fire, there's a little bit of destruction. But if we're faithful to God in this process, we will not be destroyed. We will be enlivened. And look tonight. Look at this life that is being generated. Together we can be the burning bush. Together we can let God shine in our midst. And then, 2 days ago, the image that came to me in prayer was, remember the story of Ezekiel and the dry bones? And Ezekiel walks in this valley of dry bones, and it's pretty grim. But then God says, prophesy that these bones can rise. And then they get sinew on them, and they get skin, and they kind of look human, but they have no breath, and they have no hope. And what God says is, prophesy and breathe on them. And the breath of the Spirit gives them life and hope. And the powerful thing I'm discovering by this bizarro bus trip and by the Daily Show and Colbert Report, the foolishness, for Christ's sake, is it gives breath, it gives hope, and laughter. Do you know Dante says that laughter is the language of angels? And so, my friends, we have serious work ahead. We cannot do this alone. But if we have each other, if we have each other's backs, if we are the bush that can let God flame up in our lives and go without control to 9 states and try to stay sane in the process, if we are free to let God be in our lives, if we are free to breathe on each other and bring out this hope, something new's going to come. I have no idea what it is. I had no idea we'd be here 2 weeks ago, but here we are. Who's willing to maybe be part of this community to move this forward? And then see, can you support each other? Can you breathe on each other? Can you give each other hope? Because I want you to know one thing. Your presence here tonight, your breath here tonight, breathes on us and gives us hope. So we will have the stamina, we'll have the courage to keep going, because we know we have solidarity with folks in Des Moines and in all the other places that we're headed. I bet we find the same. And if we have solidarity, then we can each take responsibility to form that more perfect union. Right? Right. And let the people say, amen. 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 Thank you.